Hi everyone, I am Adolfo Neto, an associate professor at the Federal University of Technology Paraná here in Curitiba, Brazil, and this is the Professor Adolfo Neto podcast, a podcast that started in Portuguese and now it's going to be fully in English. Today we have a special guest, Gustavo Oliveira, the creator of ELXPRO, a course designed to teach Elixir. Gustavo, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Adolfo. It's a pleasure for me to be here, especially about your work related to Elixir and education, which is something that I love so much.
Yes, that's great. So, could you tell our audience a bit about yourself? What sparked your interest in computer science in Elixir?
Sure. This is a great question because I've been repeating to myself a lot, especially about Elixir. But about myself, I think that I started my career as a software engineer, not with 19, 20 years old, but when I was 12 years old, because I understood nothing about computer. I even didn't have computer because it was too expensive. And my uncle, he's still a software engineer. He's a director, but at that time he started explaining about computer technologies and softwares for me, and I understood nothing. But everyone about of our family think that he is clever, and I want to be like him. So I started my career at that time with HTML, with 15 years old. But the most interesting about my career is that I decided to become a software engineer focused on web development when I was 18, 19 years old, because I like front end and back end stuffs. And that time I studied Java. I decided to study Java. And oh my God, I had to study HTML, Angular framework, Java, Hibernate, AJB that time. And then a lot of things changed to Java 7, 8. A lot of things I had to study Java again. And then a lot of techniques. And at the same time, instead of using Hibernates and something like that, we started using the Spring with a lot of things. Oh God, I had to study a lot. Then Spring Cloud, Spring Boot, Spring JPA, and then Angular version number 2, React, microservices. Man, I'm not gonna stop studying. Like, the problem is not to study, but studying a lot. And sometimes things change in 2 months, and you have to follow that. And about the Elixir, was something that I was looking for a functional programming language to study. The new bank company, they were using Clojure. And what happened was I was talking with, do you know Victor Nascimento from Stone, and he moved to
Yes,
another
yes.
company.
Capitão
So he
Nascimento.
was exactly. So, and he inspired me a lot because I worked with him. He knew a lot of things about Java, and he was so excited about Elixir. And Sony we just had around 15 employees that time. It was not like a huge company that we have now. And he know Java and Elixir, and he mentioned about Elixir. So at the first time, I didn't want to study Elixir because it's from Brazil, so which is something that most Brazilians believe that. I don't know if that's gonna work because I don't think that we are gonna have a lot of support of all of the language. But when I started studying Elixir, man, I can solve any problem not related to mobile app for now, because now we have the live native, but I don't know how it goes. But in general, problems. So I can solve any problem with one language, and everything is transparent and clear for me, and focus on scalability where I can understand microservices, but I can solve problems that could be much more complex with simple things using Elixir. So I've been working with Elixir now almost 6 years, and which is fantastic. And that's why I decided to move to Elixir, study a language that I can solve problems easily and bring value to company faster.
Yes, that's great because Elixir, as you said, was created by a Brazilian, José Valim, and he started creating it in 2011. Then in 2012, he launched version 0.5, which was the first version that he really thinks is related to the version that we have today. I believe we are in version 1.15. And since that time, many things have happened to Elixir, even though it is not a language, a programming language that is backed by a big company. Like, for instance, Swift is backed by Apple and Go is backed by Google. There's no big company behind Elixir, only a great community. And
Yep.
Elixir has been gaining attention in the tech community despite that. And from your perspective, what does the market for Elixir developers look like currently? Right now, we are talking in December 2023.
Well, how can I start explaining it about the market? So let me start with my perspective because, as I mentioned, I've been working. When I started think about Elixir, I think in Brazil, at least, was just you speaking about Elixir. The community, I know we know that the community is so strong. But I think for the market for Elixir, it's the same that we having in the marketing right now. So we have a cold period because the layoffs, you know that. But what I'm seeing is that I think the opportunity for Elixir and companies is that focus on solving problem faster. So what I'm seeing is that, for example, in other language, uh, when you want to hire someone that is a full stack, you got a lot of problems because the full stack needs to understand a backend language and front end language. I know that we have the Node for backend, but in React for front end, but things is a little bit different. Even though are the same language is the same language, but you need to know, you need someone that's very strong with both. I know that we have the React and Next and Nest, some kind of frameworks with Node now too. But about Elixir, I think what makes Elixir strong actually is that solving problems in company faster using Elixir. So that is my perspective now, where developers can learn Elixir and invite the company to start testing. I'm seeing this a lot, and company love that because you don't need to hire a lot of developers to solve problems that seems to be complex in other languages such as Java, like problems about scalability especially. So you can scale a company easily with few developers. That is my perspective. I don't know
Great,
if
great.
that is the answer that we were expecting.
No, it's okay. You are going to complement that to add new information in the next question, which is: are there specific trends or opportunities that developers should be aware of regarding Elixir? For instance, People complain that most vacancies are available only for senior Elixir developers. So, how can one become a senior Elixir developer if one doesn't have the opportunity to be a beginner developer, or as we say, a junior developer in Elixir?
That is a good question, Adolfo, because let me give you some background. I've interviewed some developers to work with me. Some of them knew nothing about the Elixir, but the desire to work and the passion make make me feel so excited to hire and to work with in one of the teams that I worked. So sometimes you can see a great CV with a lot of experience with Elixir, but I think desire and passion is, for me, at least for me, is more important. Uh, Another thing, we are talking about seniors, but when we are talking about career, people think that, hey, I started studying Elixir now I'm a junior. No, you are not a junior. You just changed the language. And I can share some experience from my students. Some of them told me, Gus, I'm trying to find a job as an Elixir engineer abroad, sorry. Uh, but I'm gonna start considering myself as a junior. Oh, no, you're not a junior. You are a senior. The difference, you change the language. If you create a good test, speaking about talking about the advantage of Elixir, well, explaining problems that you can solve, and having a portfolio with Elixir. Sometimes I interview people that they don't have a portfolio, but they desire to work with Elixir. Even, of course, they didn't study. So, but the desire moved them to apply to that job. And what I'm seeing is that you are not a senior because you have years of experience with Elixir. You are a senior because you have experience, that and you have a background. You can bring this background to Elixir. Of course, things gonna be changed about good practices. If you know good practice in every language, you can apply with Elixir. But I think it's a problem. If you have 5 years of experience, 10 years of experience, you're not a junior just because you changed the language. You know. So what I recommend is that you can apply for that job, but use your portfolio. Use sometimes content that you have studied. Create a good task for companies. Apply for companies and show the desire to work with them is valuable too. It sometimes, if you have an experienced Elixir dev engineer and someone with a desire to work, probably the guy with Elixir experience will not perform well because, hey, I just have a job with Elixir, I just want to change. So did I don't know if that is I think it's a good question, and I think this is one of the things that I noticed that it's been a problem, because people think that they are junior just because changed the language, but it's not true. That's not true.
Yes, and that gave me some ideas. For instance, yes, I believe it's true that many companies don't hire junior developers, but there are some exceptions. For instance, in the US, I know that Dockyard has a Dockyard Academy for junior developers, even for people that are not developers yet. I know that company that's behind the Elixir Wizards podcast, Smart Logic, they hired a lot of junior developers and then taught them Elixir. And but I know in the context of Brazil, maybe that's true. There are not enough junior developer positions, roles for people that
Yeah.
Elixir. But one suggestion that I would give is for those people is that, okay, learn Java or JavaScript, and in parallel learn Elixir and have a job in Java or in other language, and then you can learn Elixir on the site. Because as you told you, you will never stop learning if you want to be a developer.
Okay.
So the next step, of course, is asking you about ELX Pro. Can you
Can I
give
just say something?
yeah, yes, sure.
Yeah, related to junior jobs, I mentioned some things that is related to someone who has experience. But as you mentioned, if you want to start your career as an Elixir engineer, this is, to be honest, I think it's a little bit harder. It's not impossible. I saw that happening. But as you mentioned, it's good to start with a language that we have in the market to get more experience. I 100% agree. Sorry about that.
Okay, so let's dive into ELX Pro. And my question is, can you give our listeners an overview of what ELX Pro is about?
Yeah, the LX Pro is about you start from scratch, knowing nothing about Elixir, but you need to have experience with as a software as a programming language. So you need to be a developer at least 1 year because it's not for like beginner or newbies, but it's the way that you can learn Elixir following good practices from scratch until you learn in distributed apps with live view and Kubernetes. So basically, it's a way that you can learn much more faster, like using practices such as TDD, so OTP, split the responsibility between OTP and business rules, business logics, learning what is behind the Phoenix and how to use it in a better way to organize your code base, how to create a good documentations for your REST APIs, live views. So split the responsibility between pages. I created a method called PPC because live view we have for the page, the process page, and component. Split the responsibility between them. What is the responsibility from the live view process, page, and component? You can test easily and scaling your app much more faster. That's it.
My next question is about what makes ELX Pro unique. How does it help aspiring developers master Elixir and related tools?
I think what makes the ELXPRO unique is not only the real world project, but software that company desires to have. So techniques that I explain to my students when they join to a company that they are using Elixir, they mention, hey, what about if we add like this good practice such as pipeline CIs, quality coverage, and tests? Company there was a company that a couple of my students, I can mention their name here, but some of them get the salary raise in 2 weeks. So hey, this guy is producing much more than the others in 2 weeks. So it happening now where I'm working now too. So we started creating software much more faster, following good practice related to Elixir, the responsibility of each step. So, and I saw most of my, it's not what it's something that I implemented that I shared. And when they do it, companies start loving my students because they are following good practice with Elixir.
That's great. One thing that I could add about ELX Pro is that there is a community, right? You have a community on Discord where people can ask questions, and it's not just a set of recorded videos.
Yeah, it's not a set of recorded videos. So, for example, so some of my students that this time they were struggling about protocols in Elixir. And Gus, I watched the class any times and I have questions. And I mentioned, it's okay, let's solve your questions. So, like in 15 minutes, I explained. a very specific topic about protocols to him, explain how to use, why I'm teaching protocols, and what is the next steps, and why I'm explaining the protocols to him. And that was clear. And if it wasn't, I would explain any times. So you got the access, like if you have any questions, not only me, but a lot of students answer quickly. And we have lives too that I called Alchemist Coffee. Some of them is going to be related to comparing the ChatGPT with Elixir and GitHub Copilot.
Okay, so if you who are listening to our episode enjoyed today's content and are curious about the ELX Pro, you will find an affiliate link in the episode description. I'm going also leave it on the screen here for people that are watching this episode on YouTube. Clicking on it not only grants you access to the product, but also contributes to the future of this podcast. Of course, you have to pay the price. It's not free. Of course, it's a business, right? It's your is it your main business right now? Do you have other businesses, and do you have a job as a software developer right now?
Yes, I do have a job as a software engineer in Elixir. I got the ELXPRO and other business too, but my passion is Elixir, to be honest. I think Elixir is not only a language for me. I think I never shared with you, but for me, is a way to produce software faster and something that you can enjoy.
So thanks for being here, Gustavo. I believe this conversation was great. Do you want to leave some last words to our listeners and no listeners and viewers? Yes, viewers, people who are watching on YouTube. Do you have last words for them?
So, first of all, thank you so much for this episode, Adolfo. I really enjoy our time together. And for you who's listening, I highly recommend you move a little bit more about your career with Elixir because it's a fantastic language. And let's build software together and change. Maybe move Elixir to one of the top languages in the world, which is one of
Yes,
my
yes.
goals.
Yes. So thank you very much, Gustavo. Thanks for listening or watching this video podcast episode. See you in the next episode.
Bye
Some
bye.
aqui.